Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the In Michigan podcast. I am your host, Ryan Redoute, aka That Michigan Guy on Instagram, TikTok, Threads, YouTube for all of you watching. And if you want to watch, the link's in the podcast description. But today, we are going to be jumping right into our main topic, which is the official Michigan alphabet. Now, you all might be familiar with alphabets that you've seen in maybe little stores around Michigan. A is associated with this, B is associated with this, and I wanted to make an official list. I saw some of them and I agree with a lot of them, but some of them I said, that's kind of a stretch, and I wanted to add vibes, phrases, things that like all Michiganders know that we would all kind of associate and understand and stand behind, really. So if you hear this list and feel like you want to add one, feel free to shoot me a message on Instagram. I want to make this, like I said, a comprehensive list that everyone, every Michigander, Youper, troll can be behind. I feel like X is going to be something that will surprise everybody, but more on that later. Starting off with A, we're going to go with apple blossom. Now, apple blossoms are the official state flower, so I feel like I had to choose these. They're really pretty. It's like cherry blossoms too. Like they all have this kind of like light pink hue to them when they're blossoming in spring. And I feel like it's kind of a testament to the seasonal change that us Michiganders know and love. Now, B is for Bavarian Inn chicken dinners. We all know them, and probably some of you like Zender's chicken dinners more, which Zender's can also be for Z, and I'll touch on that one later too. Bavarian Inn chicken dinners for me are just, it's so funny because Bavarian Inn chicken dinners have not changed since I was young. Like, I remember going at 5 to 7 years old. The building looks the same. The restaurant's designed the same. I wonder if they've even switched anything about it, but the chicken recipe has remained the same as well, and it's delicious. You even get the little Bavarian man and woman little like insert into your ice cream at the end of your dinner. I just went like 2 weeks ago and got the same treatment like I've always gotten, so it's wild to me that they've kept it the same this long, and every time I've gone in there, busy, like beyond busy. C is for Coney Island and cherries. Coney Island, Coney dogs, everyone knows and loves them, especially around Metro Detroit. And cherries, Cherry Festival in Traverse City, and just being known for cherries. I mean, like, I grew up having cherry spitting contests, so cherries, I think, are undoubtedly Michigan. D is for Detroit and deep dish pizza, which is also the Detroit style of pizza. I actually did a whole video, which is linked in this article, about the difference between deep dish and regular pizza, like Chicago style pizza, because there are some specifics that I didn't know about that I'm really glad I looked into, because now I feel like I'm a Detroit deep dish pro. What people don't know is that with deep dish with Detroit, it's about a lot of bread, thick bread, square, deep dish cut, like in that you're filling this deeper tray, and then the sauce kind of goes on top, the pepperoni's thicker and kind of folds, that makes that pool where the grease gathers. I decided to go with eagles in Eastern Market. Eagles are on the Michigan flag, and you see them all around all the time, so I felt like it was a good, I think they're the state bird. Correct me on that if I'm not. But Eastern Market in Detroit, it's this farmer's market that everyone in the city knows about. Every weekend it's packed with everyone coming in to buy farm goods, plants. They have so many events going on. It's one of my favorite places to go, especially on like a Saturday morning, and just have a relaxing time, grab a coffee. There's a lot of restaurants and shops all around the area too. So if you're ever in town or you haven't checked it out yet, I highly recommend doing so. F is for Frankenmuth. Frankenmuth is our little Bavaria here in Michigan, and I just think having this little town that is Bavarian themed, it cracks me up, and it's honestly really cute. I just spent the weekend there with my family. I pretty much go once a year at this point, and there's the cheese house, there's Bavarian Inn chicken dinners and Zender's, there's the water parks or the hotels, so you can kind of bring the whole family, and it's a lot of fun, honestly. There's Bronner's 365 Christmas store. It's open year-round. You can buy Christmas ornaments for any occasion you want. My mom always goes when they have the discount in like Jan to Feb and buys ornaments for us to give us the next Christmas. G is for Great Lakes, of course. That's an easy given one for the Great Lakes State. And then H is for Holland. Holland, Michigan is where the annual Tulip Festival happens. And by the way, I want to share an article about the Holland Tulip Festival, specifically on in Michigan, which is where I'm reading this alphabet from. It's a featured article on in-michigan.com. It's my new website that I'm just really excited about, and I feel like it's kind of a pinnacle point in my journey, having made 800 videos about Michigan for Michiganders at this point. And the website and the brand and this podcast are really about putting all my Michigan energy into one place to really categorize it for you and really just make it more organized so that you all can look at content about Michigan and connect the dots with other things around Michigan too, and just help everyone thrive and enjoy the Great Lakes state. I is for Isle Royale, which is actually the most northern part of Michigan you can get to. It's this little island. I personally want to go check it out. I'm sure my journey to see the northern lights, that would be a great spot to go. And I know there's dark parks up that way. I was just messaging the Keweenaw Peninsula Instagram account and trying to get suggestions for places to go up there. In Michigan, it takes a long time to drive from the bottom of Michigan, where I'm at really, to the very top of the Upper Peninsula. Like, it is 12 hours or so, I'm sure. Like, it's beyond crazy. J is for Jackson. I feel like I wanted to put, J was a little bit of a tricky one, but I feel like I want to put Jackson on there because it is on the route from Metro Detroit to Chicago. It's like a major stopping point for the Amtrak chain. And I dated someone from there. And so I feel like that's why I know it. I don't think other people know about it a lot. So if you have a J recommendation, I would like to add or change this one. But I'm not about to hate on Jackson, so I'm happy it's on the list. K is for Kalamazoo. I was actually able to spend a weekend there a couple years back, and definitely check out the Crow's Nest for brunch if you are visiting for the weekend. But it's a cute little town, and honestly, I think it represents like that part of Michigan well. And again, it's also a stop on the Amtrak train. As you can see, there's a theme here, and I just felt like it deserved to make the list. L is for lighthouses, and let me tell you, lighthouses hold a special place in my Michigan heart because my grandpa, who's since passed away, he was an artist that painted lighthouses, and some of his paintings just look so pretty. They really capture that Michigan lighthouse beach energy, and I feel like they're pure Michigan. Like, you have them on the beaches, they look really pretty. Even the ones that are like all rusted, like there's this one in Frankfurt, it's rusted, it's got all this like markings on it and things like that. It still looks so picturesque. So I feel like I appreciate lighthouses for that. Now, M is a really popular one. I thought of a lot for M that I felt like everyone would stand behind, and that's Mackinac Island, of course. Mystery Spot, which is in the UP. Everyone sees the billboards. Motown, which the music we're known for here in Metro Detroit. And Myers, of course, which it's so funny because I'll make a video about Myers, and Michiganders across the state lose their minds. Like, it's great. And what's really funny too is that Meyer, as it is called now, actually used to be called Myers. And that's why I think a lot of Michiganders still say Myers, especially because we got it from our parents, and that it used to have the apostrophe S at the end because it was a small store that one person owned. And on the article on in-michigan.com, I actually list a video that shows back in the day, I think it's like a sign or it's like a game or something that shows that it was Myers at one point with the apostrophe S. And we got Up North, which is something that I think is a really hot debate on where it starts in Michigan. But to me, and I actually did a video on like an actual calculation you can do to see if you're going up north. Part of it was like, did you see a Jesus sign? Did you go to a log cabin? Is the energy of like being up north, like, is it foresty? Is it nature filled? Like, these are the things that kind of define an up north experience, even though you might not be going north all the time per se. And then O is for Apple Orchards. I luckily got the opportunity to collab for the past 2 years in a row with Michigan Apples and promoting apples in Michigan, which Michigan we're the third largest producer of apples in the United States. So I think that's pretty cool, and what we are really known for when it comes to foods and things like that, in addition to cherries. I actually went to an apple orchard, and I highly recommend doing it yourself because it was a lot of fun seeing the apple trees and hand picking, washing them at home. I felt like I was a little gatherer, like getting my food for the week, and it was just a really cool experience. Granted, it was hot when I went, and it was so funny because I was making a collab video and I had to act like it was not hot and that I wasn't sweating profusely when I was picking these apples. And My husband was wearing like all black. We clearly did not dress for the day. I had to dress like in fall, but it was a hot September week. Now, P is for Petoskey stones and pictured rocks. Like Petoskey stones, like on the beach, everyone knows the vibe. I've actually had the pleasure of picking one out naturally that I saw on the beach. And if you want a pro tip on how to find Petoskey stones on the beach, you can actually look where it's wet. Don't try to look where it's dry because it's going to look like every other stone or rock or whatever. You got to go where the water's kind of brushing over to try to look for that Petoskey pattern. That's how I found the one I have. And then pictured rocks. If you have not checked out the Pictured Rocks Lakeshore in the Upper Peninsula, there's a couple articles on in-michigan.com to learn about it and see my experiences. And I have a reco for like a trail to check out. But you have to go. The Upper Peninsula of Michigan is completely different than the Lower Peninsula. It is like this untouched nature preserve. Growing up, we went, and there was one point where it was really foggy. I was on a beach. I was walking along it. You can't see anybody. And I saw this big pond, and it was red. And I was like, how is that pond so deep, like crimson red? And then I walked into it, even though I was like, what is this water? And I noticed at the bottom, it was just shiny speckles of copper everywhere. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's red because the copper's reflecting light, I believe. And it just made me, like, I've never forgotten that because to me it was like it felt so untouched. It felt so pure nature-wise. Q is for quails. Of course, everyone in Michigan knows quails, right? And they are really popular. They're a bird that we actually can find in Michigan. So there's accuracy in this naming. But yeah, Q is a little bit difficult one. R is for robins in the spring. This, to me, my mom always sends a picture of the first robin she sees when spring's coming. We should be getting one anytime soon now. And I think it's just the cutest thing ever. And to me, robins in the spring is that sign, again, of seasonal change that us Michiganders know and love. And it's a sign of going into the warmer part of the season. So I really appreciate this as an energy, as a vibe. S, I said, is for Sleeping Bear Dunes, which, if you don't know, it's that one that a lot of Michigan travel creators will say, you know, like it costs $10,000 to be saved from the bottom if you go to the bottom and can't get back up. They are like, it's like a desert area up that way. It's crazy how much sand there is. And then Superman ice cream, of course. Like, what nostalgia of me growing up and camping and just everything associated with my childhood. I feel like just seeing Superman ice cream all the time everywhere I went was a big part of it. T is for Traverse City. It's a very popular city that a lot of Michiganders know. It's a very nice area. There's wineries, there's Grand Traverse Bay. If you go up that way, there's a bunch of other cool cities to check out too. Like I said, I grew up going to the Traverse City Cherry Festival, and I feel like it's just a city I went to a lot that holds a place in a lot of Michiganders' hearts. And then U is for the Upper Peninsula. That's a pretty straightforward one. Like I said, go check it out. There's articles on in-Michigan for it. Finishing up our letters, we have V for Werner's cough. Not just Werner's that can cure every ailment a Michigander has. Werner's cough, which is when you pour Werner's in a glass. You cannot, and I actually did a video where I was like, let me just organically drink. I'm just going to naturally drink this and see if I get it. Every time I went to go drink the Werner's, just the ginger gets in your nose and it just like you exhale everything, every bit of air in your body. So I felt like that was very much a vibe a lot of Michiganders can relate to. W is for white pine. I think pine trees are just something I associate with Michigan because you see them, like I said, when you go up north, when you're traveling up north, in the UP. I grew up with pine trees in my backyard. Like the white pine, I believe, is the state tree. I think that pine trees in general across Michigan have a strong association. Now with X, I feel like, again, this is something that's going to surprise everybody. Actually, let me go into Y. Y is for Yoopers before I go back to X. Z is for Detroit Zoo. X, to nobody's surprise, is exactly what you'd think, nothing. Like, I could not think of anything for X that's actually associated with Michigan. Some other ones, like on the Michigan alphabets I've seen, associate a really random word with it that I feel like not a lot of people know. Maybe it's like a random street name or city name. I didn't want to go with that. So if you have a suggestion for X that I'm missing, that's something that Michiganders would stand behind and say, like, yes, I know about that, then Tell me, because I have no idea what X could be for Michigan. But that finishes up the official Michigan alphabet. Let me know again if you have comments on things that we should add, take away, update, what have you. I really appreciate everybody going ahead and reviewing this podcast on all the different podcast platforms. It really helps get it up in the rankings for people looking for Michigan and Michigander content. So I very much appreciate it there. And check out my videos about Michigan on all your favorite platforms as well. And I will see you all, Mish, again.